let me show you how the Kastle ARP works. You can play different notes with the note knob. You can make them longer. You can change the timbre. And then you have the LFO section, which can help you automate these things. So let's start with the triangle wave that's pulsating here and patch it to the note mod input. So now this note mod is saying how much we are modulating this note knob. So if we're not modulating it at all, I don't hear any notes being played. Let's say this would be the lowest note I want to play, and then if I add here, I basically say how high the arpeggio would go. Okay, let's do something like this. So now it's playing a major chord, and with the chord input you can modulate which notes are being played. So if I patch it to plus, it plays a different chord, and if I patch it to minus, it plays another chord. And of course I can modulate it. So that is the pattern output of the LFO, which changes I think 4 times during the triangle run. So now it's playing different notes in different parts of the sequence. The tempo knob sets both the tempo of the triangle wave, the pattern generator and the pulse output. And you can make it go quite fast. So now let's look deeper at the decay knob. So now every note is being triggered. If I go to the middle with the decay knob, it's the shortest notes you can play, very staccato. Let's turn on the reverb. And if I go to the left with the decay, will start skipping some notes. So basically what is happening is that the ARP is waiting for the decay to fall under a certain threshold before it can re-trigger. So it's somehow non-re-triggerable envelope. But what we care about is that the more left I place the decay knob, the slower the arpeggio becomes. And it's kind of evenly spaced notes, so now the rhythm is quite persistent. And it's still playing this LFO which goes up and down, so you can still hear the basic shape of the LFO. However, if I make the tempo faster than how the notes re-trigger, I start to get some interesting patterns. And really what I'm hearing is some sort of interference between this time constant and this time constant. So small change here can result in a very different melody. Let's use the pulse output and patch it back to the clock input. What this would do is to reset the LFO so it makes a short ramp. Let's hear that ramp. So now the arpeggio only goes up. And let's use the same LFO shape to also modulate the timbre. notes gets, the more rich it sounds. Let's move the decay back to the left so we start skipping some notes. So now the tempo is quite fast, so you hear this modulation, but the note re-triggers every few cycles of the LFO, which makes quite an interesting result. Okay, that's a nice lullaby. Let's add more bass. There is this bass output which plays the bass note derived from what is happening at the chord input. And if I patch it to the ARP, you hear like a bass note that's happening underneath the whole arpeggio. So actually the ARP is duophonic. It can play two notes at once, one bass note and one from the arpeggio. Let's make it faster. So we hear all the notes that the ARP is playing, and let's maybe try to make a very irregular pattern. So let's connect the pattern into the tempo input. So now every run of the LFO has a different speed. Some are short, some are fast. And we can start skipping notes again by turning the decay knob. And we can even modulate the decay knob with the pattern. So this is how we can discover different melodies on the ARP. Let's maybe start a patch from scratch again, and let's use the pulse output to modulate the note. So it's playing one low note and one high note. So this is a pulse signal, so it's either low or high. And I can set the low note here, and then maybe make the higher note closer by closing this modulation input. Let's see what happens if we modulate, let's say with the pattern, the chord input. So it's always alternating between low note and high note, but now it's choosing different notes. And we can still use the triangle wave to maybe modulate the timbre. Let's see what happens if we start skipping some notes with the decay. get very different melodic pattern again. So maybe you've been thinking that how do I now tune it to different key? And there is a way to do it, but you need to go to the boot mode. And to get to the boot mode, you turn these 3 knobs to the maximum, you turn the Kastle off, and you also patch the chord input to plus. And now if I turn it on, so now I got to the boot mode and I hear a static tone. And let's turn on the tuner because it's a tuning mode. So with the temper knob I will set the root note. With this one I can just preview what's happening, and this would be my fine tune knob. So let's say I would like to work in the key of C major. I can fine tune to be on spot. And I can see on the tuner that I'm playing the major triad of C major, maybe tune it a little bit higher. Okay. Then with the temper knob I can move by a semitone. Let's say if I want it to be in E major. Do that, and if I unplug this chord, it's gonna ring out and I will be back into the normal mode of operation, but just tuned differently. So this is the basic overview of what you can do with the Kastle ARP. If you want to know more information about the LFO section, it is the same as on the Kastle drum. So you can go watch that video, and this is it for now.